Alright, welcome back to Super Slash 75 movie reviews with a twist. So today we're going to discuss Cat People. It's an older film, came out in 1982, but it's a great film, a great nostalgic, erotic thriller. I'm going to go into some backstory with this particular movie. There's some mythology ties into it, so I think it's very important when it comes to explaining the story. So let's get into it. Alright, so in the opening scene, it's out in the out in the plains. We have an indigenous set of people escorting a female to a tree. They tie her to a tree. Then a black leopard comes up, and it's not implied if it mates with her or if it kills her. Okay. The next scene, we have an older high priestess woman escorting a young female into a leopard's lair, and then subsequently it's implied that the leopard mates with this young woman. Alright, so fast forward, we get to the main characters, Irina and Paul. Irina and Paul are siblings. They were separated years ago. Irina was in the orphanages and raised in Canada. Paul was an orphan, jail, institutions, bad boys home, all that good stuff. So he's a rough and tough guy. Okay, so Irina flies to New Orleans to go live with her brother, meet with her brother after years of separation. Okay, so then Paul has a caretaker or a housekeeper. Her name is Famali, but it's spelled female. She's a voodoo priestess, implied because it's New Orleans, and like her name is pronounced Famale, but spelled female. This character is played by Ruby Dee. For all my Spike Lee fans, you know who Ruby Dee is. Married to Ossie Davis. They both passed a few years ago. Rest in peace. Okay, so now Irina never knew the conditions of what her parents died from. Is always labeled as mysterious. That's all she knew. Okay, so now we get into the next scene where there's a Paul basically eyes Famali, walks up to Irina's room when she's sleeping, and he pretty much watches her while she sleeps. So there's implied attraction between the brother for the sister, even though it can be creepy. All right, so it's already laying out the framework for it. All right, so then we get on to, he goes out for the night, and then there's this prostitute. She goes into the room, and apparently Paul had set up the meet with the prostitute, and so she sits on the bed, and she's like, hey, yeah, whatever, I'm here, this is how much it costs. So she sees this goo of like viscera and molted skin and fur on the bed. And then there's this tail. Well, she didn't know it was a tail, but it was a tail underneath the bed, and she's like, what is that? So she's playing with the tail with her foot, and then you hear this growl, and then the claw comes out, scratches her, cuts her ankle up pretty bad. So she's screaming, she's trying to just crawling down the stairs, screaming, hysterically, and then you hear the growl, and then the leopard mauls her. So then the next scene, the zookeepers come out, animal control rather, and the cops. So the leopard is trapped in the room, and when I tell you this leopard is vicious beyond belief, I don't know what type of animal training or animal handling was involved with this one, but I'm telling you, this leopard was not acting. This leopard was vicious. So they concoct a plan to trank the leopard. The whole time, this is Paul, mind you, okay? And I'll get into the history of how the transformation, all that good stuff. So the main curator, his name is Oliver. He climbs a ladder up to the second-story window, tries to dust off the window because the window's dusty. The leopard literally launches at him through the window, through the bars, and almost knocks him off the ladder. So Oliver finally is able to trank the cat, and as soon as he hits the cat with the trank dart, the cat goes apeshit, the leopard rather, and I mean it literally jumps up the wall and hits the ceiling, and underneath the floor, but beneath them you can see the plaster falling down to everybody else. This cat was vicious beyond belief. Okay, so they finally get the cat tranquilized. They take him to the zoo and inspection, all that good stuff, and he's caged up. And like I said, Oliver is the main curator. Okay, so then Irina wakes up the next day and is like, hey, where's Paul? Of course, Famali's like, well, he's at the mission. So she's covering for him. So she knows the family history. She knows what they do, how they are. So she's covering for Paul, clearly. So then Irina goes and, check out the lay of the land, goes to see New Orleans, all the sights and sounds of New Orleans, and all this and that sightseeing, blah 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 blah. She ends up befriending Oliver's off again, on again girlfriend. Okay, so she takes her out for lunch, but before then, Irina goes to the zoo late at night when it's closed, and she sees the leopard, and they lock eyes, and for some odd reason she's entranced by this animal. She doesn't know why, but they are psychically linked, whether Irina realizes or knows it or not. Paul does. Okay, but Paul's still in leopard form in the cage, so they link eyes. The curator sees her. She hops up a tree. I mean, she already has cat-like abilities, whatever. He's like, hey, come down to school, you know, whatever. You here? You new? Blah blah blah. He gives her a job at the shop, okay, at the souvenir shop. Okay, so she befriends everybody, whatever. So one scene, the Oliver's on again, off again girlfriend, and Irina are in a bar having coffee. So this blonde woman dressed in all black, very dark features, she walks up to Irina, says, mi hermana, and implying that the cat people know who their people are. And Irina was like, well, what is she was saying? I don't understand what she was saying. And the woman was like, she said, oh, she's speaking Spanish. She said, my sister. Of course, Irina's clueless. She doesn't know anything at this point. Okay, so now, get into the next scene. It's time for feeding. So I believe his name is Joe, played by Ed Begley Jr. Joe attempts to feed Paul in leopard form. Of course, Irina is there because she's just so entranced by him, or the cat. So as she's there, he's like, hey, stand back, let me feed this cat, whatever. He has a prod attached to his arm. So he sticks the prod in to feed the cat, and the cat grabs his arm and literally rips it off at the shoulder socket. And Joe falls back. He's in shock, and blood just all over the floor. And so after that, Joe apparently ends up dying from his injuries. So then Oliver says, that's it, I'm going to euthanize this cat. So he's on his way to euthanize the cat, the leopard, Paul. Paul breaks out, and he leaves a puddle of viscera, the same puddle that was seen on the bed with the prostitute. He breaks out. He goes to see Irina later on that night. She's like, hey, where you been? He's like, yeah, I'm, at the mission praying for sins, yada, yada, yada. So he tries to sleep with her. He tries to get her to understand what the situation is. And she's like, no. She runs away. Okay, so now, backstory. Cat people called werecats. Werecats are people that can turn into domestic cats like lions, tigers, lynx, leopards. Okay, werecats exist in all forms of African culture, American culture, Asian culture. Okay, in Africa mainly, werecats that turn into lions are deemed royalty. And case in point, I'm referencing the lions of Tsavo in Africa. For those that are not familiar, the lions of Tsavo are probably the greatest mass murderers of men, lions-wise. They were the lions responsible for killing a bunch of European railroad workers back in Africa when they were trying to build a railroad through Africa. It was those two lions that killed pretty much any and everybody that get their mitts on. Reference the movie The Ghost in the Darkness with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas, and those lions were held in high regard by the natives, or by the Africans there, because they felt that those animals were royalty and they were killing people for a reason. Okay, now getting back to the movie. So Irina flees from Paul, calls the cops. The cops come to the house, and they go into the basement. They discover half-eaten bodies in the basement, and the cops ask Famale, hey, didn't know about this? She's like, no, I didn't know this. I don't ever go into the basement, blah blah blah. So they arrest her as an accomplice. So Famale goes to jail. Irina ends up staying with the curator Oliver for a few days. Okay, so now getting into the family history. If werecats mate with a human, they turn into leopards, and for them to regain their human transformation back, they have to kill a human. So that's what they do, and they can only have sex with each other werecats, to avoid the transformation. But if a werecat ever has sex with a human, they will turn into a leopard, and to go back to a human, they have to kill. Okay, so now another scene. Paul kills another woman. And then Paul breaks back in to see Irina and begs her to sleep with him. He actually gives her the history of the family and what they do and how they're supposed to be mates, and go off together and live together. It tells Irina that's what our parents did. He's like, you didn't know our parents were brother and sister. And she's like, oh my God, no, the gross, you. So she stabs him, runs away. So Paul says, the hell with it. He ends up transforming into the leopard. The curator Oliver comes in. He's already in leopard. He's like, oh, Paul. Oh no, he's like, Oliver, and he's walking towards him and he's transforming. And Oliver's like, what the hell? He's like, tells his girlfriend, get the shotgun. There's the leopard in here. So he's trying to fight off the leopard, whatever. So the girlfriend breaks in and she shoots Paul with the shotgun. He falls out the window. He dies. And then Irina walks up to the body, sees the body of Paul, the cat. And she, starts crying, whatever. So then Oliver goes to perform an autopsy on Paul, the leopard. Okay. So as he's cutting the leopard open, the incision, the Y incision, he cuts him open, opens the breastplate, and a human arm falls out. Okay. And then all of a sudden the body emits a green gas and it pretty much dissolves, leaving no trace of anything, just a nasty pool of viscera and blood, and that's pretty much it. So he has pretty much there's his proof of a human leopard hybrid, I guess. All right, so then Irina goes to see Famali in jail. Got to be kidding me. Only in California, I tell you. So Irina goes to see Famali in jail. Famali says, oh, Paul's dead. She already knows. And she's like, well, what do I do? Where do I go? She says, just be who you are. And Irina's like, where can I go? She said, doesn't matter where you go. So then Irina accepts her fate and goes to seduce Paul, or not Paul, but Oliver. They have sex, and he's knocked out. And about a few hours later, you can see she's starting to transform. She's starting to sweat. The brow ridge started to come in. The canines are coming in. So she pretty much transforms, dead, full-on leopard. She's in leopard mode. And, she stands over top of Paul and Oliver. Oliver, right? She doesn't kill Oliver. She doesn't attack Oliver. They kind of tussle a little bit. And then, he realizes, oh my God, it's Irina. So then she runs off in leopard form. Okay. Okay. I'm going to skip the part where Irina was stalking Oliver's on-again, off-again girlfriend. Not really necessary, but So then, in leopard form, Irina's trapped on a bridge. And all the cops block the bridge. Animal control comes out. Oliver comes out. So they try to kill the cat, shoot at the cat. The leopard, rather, Irina, jumps off the bridge, swims, and she's going back to the lake house. So Oliver goes to chase her because he knows where she's going. So in the midst of Oliver tracking her down, she had already killed the caretaker, some old guy. She killed the caretaker, and he confronts her with a shotgun. She's like, look, just kill me. Okay? She begs him to kill her. He's not going to kill her because, he cares for her. He loves her. He asked her to go away with her. He wants to take care of all this. He professed his love to her early in the movie, okay? So she's like, okay, you won't kill me, then make love to me, and so I can go live with my own, basically. And so he ties her to the bed, and he makes love to her, and she eventually ends up turning back into a leopard. End scene. Next scene is... it's implied it's months down the road, okay? So Oliver and his off-again girlfriend are together for good. And she's like, hey, I'm going to go get lunch. You want to come? He's like, no, I got something to do. So Oliver's walking through the exhibit. He goes to the cat's lair, the cat exhibit, and there's Irina in the cage. And he goes up to the cage, and he feeds her a piece of meat, and she lets him pet her, and... end scene. And that's the movie. So everyone else thinks it's the same cat that escaped before. They didn't know it's two different cats, two different people. So everyone thinks they recaught the original leopard, but it's not. It's Irina. And they freeze frame, and you're looking at the cat's eyes, and you got the crazy David Bowie song playing. I think it's called "Putting Out the Fire." And then they unfreeze the frame. She growls at the screen, freeze frame again, and then the credits roll. Holy cow. Intense movie, people. I'm really reserved right now in this review because I said it before. But it's really, really deep, really intense. To me, it's a classic, cult classic. It's been deemed a cult classic for years now. Yeah, go check out Cat People, 1982, Nastassja Kinski and Malcolm McDowell. All right, that's my movie review. Superfly 75. Superfly 75 movie reviews with the twist. Y'all have a good one. Peace. I forgot one important scene, the necromancy scene. After Paul is killed, Irina decides to leave New Orleans, but during her trip, she has a necromancy dream with her dead brother Paul, where Paul takes her. They're out going to the same plains that you see in the first part of the movie, with a bunch of, you have a tree with a bunch of leopards in the tree hanging out. That's the relatives. So in the necromancy dream, Paul explains exactly who and what they are and what they do and why they do what they do. And at the very end of the dream, he tells her to welcome home, and that's when she decides to accept her fate as her being part of the Werecat clan, and decides to live her life as such. All right, Superfly 75 movie reviews with a twist. Peace.